that to get there, during those days a little different. The Olympic tryouts were in Rhode Island. And to get there, I got a ride with 2 other people, and they got as far as New York, got out, and then I had to flag my way to Rhode Island and to get there. Once there, what happened is I had to find a place to stay. And there was a park district that had this 50-meter pool, which we had the Olympic trials in. And there, in the park, they had this like Quonset hut with bunks. And I took the top bunk, and that's where I was until the swimming meet. And fortunately, I did make the team. But I think we have to give great credit to Avery Brundage, President of the United States Olympic Committee at that time, because we were not going to the Olympics. Both the SS Manhattan that held all the swimmers and officials and the USC members and the press and the coaches, everybody, were waiting until the word was go. And that was because there was confusion with a guy that everybody loved in the Olympics, except one, and his name was Adolph Hitler. And as a result of that, it was Avery Brundage that flew over, talked with Hitler, and he and the director of sports, Franklin, was in the same boat. And they finally agreed that Lewald would be the head of the Olympic Committee for the Germans, Jewish, and they did have some of the athletes that were not on the team put back on the team. Thus, we sailed, not an airplane, but a boat, 5 days to get there. And we took the train from Cuxhaven to Berlin, and then we went into the Olympic Village. And the Olympic Village was going to be the barracks for the Army once we left. It was beautiful. And they had a swimming pool and a big track. And it was while there, in the Olympic Village training, preparing for the Olympic Games, that Mr. Adolph, the bad boy, came and said he wanted to meet some of the swimmers. So I happened to be invited by 6 countries when I was in high school to swim in 6 countries. And I swam in 29 races in 32 days. So I was then called Sonny Boy. They didn't use the name Adolph, thank God. And we marked in with Gables, and he marches into the swimming pool, and there they have an interpreter, because I couldn't speak German. In spite of the fact that my mother and father both were from Germany, and I'm one of 6 other children. But we never once decided to speak German, even in the United States. And Hitler came in very short, very small, a little black mustache, little hat, very straight, and I wanted permission to throw him in the pool. The Olympics goes on. I have to tell you this. 90% of the German people loved Hitler because he brought them back. When we had the opening ceremony, there was 5,000 school children, all in the same uniform, singing. They left out 5,000 pensions flying overhead when we marched in. We were the only country of the 128 countries that were there. That might be an exaggeration of the number. But don't worry about that. As we marched before the review stand where Adolph and all the top officials were, they all would go, "Heil Hitler," their flag would be raised high, but USA did not. We kept our flags down instead of up as we marched back. One of my best friend at the Olympic Games, I got to know quite a few of the athletes. You must remember the Olympic Games is designed for peace, for love, for understanding of mankind. It's getting to understand each other. The Olympics began in 776 BC by Theodosius II. And he said that the Olympics are to solve and have understanding of man, and the victory is the olive wreath, not having battles. The military would march arm in arm, friends, drop their shields, and compete in wrestling, running, and other activities. So the Olympics ideal is the opportunity to compete. Not that you're going to be the winner. The big secret in life is know how to win as well as how to lose. The challenge of life is there for all of us. The Olympics, as a boy, the youngest member, and believe it or not, the one that gave you the biggest help and support was Jesse Owens. Jesse Owens was my best friend, and he introduced me to all the other athletes. He was the captain of the team and became my lifelong friend in Chicago. We had Jesse Owens ice cream in Chicago, Jesse Owens cleaners, and he and I worked together with Sears Roebuck in sports, opening stores, developing new products in sports. And when we had the various sports galas, and there'd be people wanting autographs, why there'd be a big long line of people waiting for Jesse's signature. And nobody in my line. Jesse, send somebody over. And fortunately he did. We played golf together, and we started the Midwest chapter of the Olympians. And we came, and to the Olympians, all of us graduates are very close to each other. We had great leadership in your department here with Stinger, the Vivian Stinger, and our local supplier in Chicago. She's done a great job. And USOC is responsible now to talk more about swimming and get every child a swimmer for life. Because once you teach a child to swim, it opens the way to 21 different sports. Everybody knows that we have problems with drowning, and the best thing to do is to teach them all how to swim. And in reality, the Olympics were the start of my life. My life, to introduce to you, I'd like to have you meet what has happened to me after that. Number one, the best thing that happened to me was getting married. I'm married for 70 years, and my wife, she came along. And I want you to meet some of my children, all of them athletes, all of them champions, gold medal winners in high school, champion swimmers in colleges and university. And I'd like that this time, if you wouldn't mind, if you had to meet what's happened to me, which makes me proud. 4 children, 14 grandchildren, 13 great-grandchildren, all of them swimmers. We had more children, but they couldn't swim. Professor Kiefer, he was a champion swimmer, swims all the time. And he did a lot of research, and he'll tell you a little about, anyway, he did all the research for Jack Cousteau. And he's a professor at the University of Southern California in marine biology. Where is he?
That is a hard act to follow. So I'm going to cut mine way short. Adolph asked me to introduce the family, and let me just say, as Adolph is a father, well, first of all, thank you for this invitation. There's a group of us over at that table that are very appreciative of the Olympic Committee for having us here at this important event. As Adolph is a father, I think you can best summarize this in terms of his modesty in terms of his accomplishments. When we learned that he, prior to the Olympics, met all the great swimmers in Europe during an extended visit there, he, in 19 days, he broke the world's record 17 times. So we asked him, well, how'd you do that? He said, well, I just swam a little faster each day. Which is, I think you can't argue that logic. Anyway, my sisters and brother-in-laws and so on are all sitting at that table, and there's Gail and David and George and Joyce, his wife, and Kathy. Peter, my son, is down here taking pictures, and myself, that they've already introduced. I'll just say this to finish up. He's basically, none of us are Olympians, so let's get it straight right now. But we do represent a lot of different sports, and I think the one thing, despite the fact that none of us are Olympians, we all remember Adolph's mantra, which is simply swim for health, swim for fun, but don't forget to swim.
Let me back up. My word here.
There you go.